This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 418 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible.
Our sponsors this week are horselovers.com and you, our auditors. Coming up on today's show, we have Gail Stewart, author of 100 Horses in History. Also, of course, our listener of the week is Shane Griffiths. And we do a product review with our auditor, Hillary, talking about the Noble Outfitters Balance Riding Tight. All on today's show.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They'll bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
I am Glenn the Geek.
And I'm Helena B., and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Well, howdy, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we're so excited. We went over 4,900 episodes here on the Horse Radio Network. On Horses in the Morning, we just hit 1,500 on Monday. So, yeah, we hit 1,500 episodes. It's hard to believe that show's been going for almost 6 years. But
no, it's like my baby sister, Horses in the Morning.
That's right. That's right. So now you've been riding a bit.
Yes, sir, I have.
I've been seeing pictures and everything. What's going on?
Yes, Mr. Brody. Well, my life has started to settle down into a certain hum and
Wait
groove.
a minute. Let me write that down. That's the first time in 9 years. I'm going to
jackass.
The date is it's August 23rd.
It's true. This is the first time in 9 years. No, but it is the truth of that's what I'm looking at, a little bit of settling into a comfortable groove. And so I'm able to have a routine where I can get on my horse regularly, and we have a couple of goals, and we're having a good time.
Wait a minute, write that down. August 23rd, Helena has goals with her horse. That's a first in 9 years. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so
I have a book of Helena, by the way. I just write all these things down. It's about 30 pages long now, the book of Helena.
Thanks a lot.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. B, I've been on him about every other day. Sometimes we ride 2 days in a row. Sometimes he has 3 days off. But he's in a regular work program. It's light work. I never push my horses to the point where they're like sweaty and huffing and puffing. He's been sitting around the field all year long, so he just stands there and gets sweaty. And
Are we still in the weight loss mode?
We're still in weight loss mode, but he's such a damn easy keeper. It's hard. So I do have to make him huff and puff a little bit more than usual. So sometimes we just go out into the field, and I really don't ask anything of him other than pick up the correct lead at the canter and just go. And, Brody's funny because he's mostly in the ring. He's a push ride, but when you're out on a hunter pace or on a trail ride, he wants to go. So, or if he decides that there's something in the woods that wants to eat him, then he becomes a pull ride. But it's, I had to upgrade my spurs because he's fat and lazy. So to keep him cantering around the field it takes a lot of work for both of us. So that's one of the funnier things that we've been focusing on.
Now, you've been taking lessons too, haven't you?
Yes. So Buck's daughter, Nora, she's the reason we met. She's the reason I met Buck. And she was my trainer long before I met Buck. And she now has her own place, but she's able to come out to my barn and work with me and Brody for an hour or so every couple of weeks. I don't take a lesson every week, but every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And so she's just helping me get back into the groove and, giving me some tips on how I can help Brody. Because at this point, it's about my horse is evergreen. He's he's wonderful to ride. I love him to death. But he's green in the ring because he's primarily been just a trail horse and hunter pacing and that stuff. So teaching him that it's okay to bend around a turn is difficult. Difficult at best. He can be a pig. He can. He can be a pig. And I don't mean because he doesn't know what to do. He can be a pig because he pulls, the old lesson horse, trail horse stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? Your horse obviously is not the only one. That Scooter does that to me all the time.
Yeah.
When Jennifer drives him, he's fine. When he drives with me, because he knows he can get away with this crap, he pulls it.
Yeah.
So,
and he's not bad. They're not bad horses.
No, they're just testing the limits to see how little they can do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. You know what? Everything in life takes the path of least resistance. I do not begrudge my horse for not wanting to work. That's fine. But, we have to compromise. So the spurs help us compromise.
I've tried to take the path of least resistance in life, and it's never worked out well. I've got to tell you.
It doesn't.
It's never good in the end.
Yeah. So, but needless to say, for our listeners.
So you feel like you're improving and getting better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I really appreciate about my horse is that he gets fit very quickly and he gets into training mode very quickly. He really does like to do well for you. And I was listening to an episode of Horse Tip Daily a few weeks ago, and they were talking about really using your voice to reinforce all the other leg aids and all the other riding aids that you use. And I realized recently that Birdie responds really well to vocal praise after the fact. When he does something, just a really nice, good boy, he's like so game for that. He's constantly listening now for the good boy. And if you go into the Auditor's Facebook page and you look at the video that I posted, it's cute. It's funny. I mean, it's a little bit silly, but watch his ears. Watch how much his ears move because he's that attentive. He's listening to me. And I found that to really be the most fascinating thing about this little video clip. It's just how much his ears moves.
Well, post that on SableScoop too, so that
okay.
non-auditors can take a look at that as well.
Okay.
Now, you didn't answer my question, though.
What?
Because my question was, are you getting better?
Yes.
Do you feel like you're getting better?
I'm getting stronger.
Okay.
I'm getting stronger, and I'm always a better rider when I'm fit. When I'm fit for riding. So when I have my riding muscles in place, the memory's all there. My body knows what to do. My brain gets in the way and weakness gets in the way. So the more I ride, the more clearer my aids and the less I interfere with my horse's way of going.
There you go. Well, we have a big show for you today, and before we get to that, I wanted to thank a listener of ours who came out over the weekend. Angie Bailey was here with her friend, Lily. They were down here horse shopping in Ocala, and they took us out to dinner at Mojo's on Saturday night.
Awesome.
That was so nice of them to do, and then came over to meet Scooter and Nigel on Sunday morning, and I got a note from her friend Lily when they got home because they were horse shopping with a bunch of eventing horses.
Yeah.
And I got a note from Lily that said the cutest horse we saw by far all weekend was Scooter. And so I guess horse shopping didn't go too well. But,
wow. Scooter.
So Scooter was the cutest thing she saw all weekend. And Scooter knows it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Kind of knows it. But it was so nice to have. It's always nice when people come to Ocala and we get to see them and visit with them. So thank you so much, Angie, for coming down. We appreciate it. And for dinner at Mojo's. Anybody wants to come to Ocala can take us out to dinner at Mojo's anytime.
What do you like about Mojo's?
It's our favorite restaurant here in town.
Why?
They only have like two branches or two restaurants, so it's a small, group. Yeah. But it's really good Cajun Southern food. Oh. And Angie likes guacamole. She told us that in her interview, actually, that she did with us. And she does like guacamole a lot because she ordered this dish that had guacamole with it, and she ordered like 12 times extra. And she slathered that whole dish in guacamole.
That's awesome.
I mean, there was about a pound of guacamole there. And she said, oh, this is really good guacamole. I was like, holy crap, I've never seen anybody eat that much guacamole. But it's supposed to be good for you with guacamole, right?
Very good for you, yeah.
Well, Angie should be really healthy because her blood is turned to guacamole.
Excellent. Good job, Angie.
All right, let's take and hear from our first guest. Her name is Gail Stewart. She is the author of 100 Horses in History: True Stories of the Horses Who Shaped Our World. I own this book. I absolutely love this book. You know, I give a lot of our books away that come in because I don't want to own it forever. This one's never going out to a listener because we love history. Helena and I, Jennifer, we all love history, and I love this book. And you could read this book over and over again. And I use it as a reference when we do our Horses in History segments. It's a really good book. Hi, Gail. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for inviting me on Stable Scoop.
I have your book, 100 Horses in History, the stories of horses who shaped our world. Right in front of me, I'm holding it open right now to the horse named Cincinnati. And this book is so cool. What made you decide to write this? And by the way, Helena and I are both history nuts, so this is right up our alley.
We are indeed.
Well, it's a funny thing. I have been horse crazy. This is an affliction that I was born with, and so my family. It was a family project. We showed horses. We had saddlebreds and quarter horses, hunter jumpers. My brother rodeoed. My little sister had ponies, and so anyway, then I grew up and went to work after college. I went to work for newspapers and magazines, and I kind of became known as the horse person. If anything came into town, like, well, Gail, go out and do a story on Miss Rodeo America or something, or a horse story. So what I started doing was finding horses that I thought personally were interesting, and then I tied that horse to an event in history. Now, recently, one of the horses in my book is Comanche, and recently at the Battle of Little Bighorn anniversary was in June. So I wrote a story about Comanche's role in the battle and sent it to the local newspaper. And that story also ran in the Kansas City Star because Comanche is taxidermied and you can see him at the University of Kansas.
Oh my gosh. I want to go now. I want to go to the University of Kansas just to see that.
He got a new stall recently. When I saw him, he was not in as nice a place as he is now, but they have a special little plastic box for him, and there he is.
He was getting dusty?
Yes, he was.
He has that in common with my horse.
Yeah, they cleaned him up. Well, that was 1876, so he's still around. So anyway, then I wrote a story about Blackjack, which was the ceremonial horse in President Kennedy's funeral, which I found it fascinating. And I was able to interview the man who led him in the 2 days of the state funeral, and that ran in the Dallas Morning News. So anyway, that's kind of how that got started. And then my brother came to visit, and my sister, and he said we started going around the breakfast table, coming up with old horses that we thought were interesting. And then my brother said, well, why don't you open a file in your computer, and before you know it, you'll have a book. And so that's kind of how that started. And then I had 30 or 40 horses, and I was trying to figure out how to combine them in a sensible way and a title. And this is so funny, I was at the grocery store in line, and I started seeing these books published by like Time and National Geographic, 100 Greatest Scientific Discoveries in the past 100 years, and 100 Greatest Movies. And I thought, well, I wonder about if anybody's done horses. And so I ran home and Googled it, and nobody had done 100 horses in history. So that's how that happened. And so then I hurried up and finished it and got 30 or 40 more horses, and that's how it happened.
Now, was it difficult to find all 100? I mean, sometimes you start a project and you're on a roll with 3, 4, 5, 10 horses. And then did you ever find yourself going, oh crap, how am I going to find another 90 horses?
No. Matter of fact, I have a huge box at home in my office of horses that I had to throw out. And that was amazing. It was like, oh, well, and then when we started putting it together, it was like, well, I need to put this horse, well, I need to take one out. And that was really hard. So, no, it was not hard at all. And people helped me, and they got to where people would say, well, Gail, do you have this horse? Do you have that horse? And I was like, yeah, I do, but I don't think we'll put him in. He's not that interesting. And So anyway, so that's how it happened, and the people I've been able to meet and visit with about their horses has been just an added benefit, a luxury, getting to talk to these wonderful horsemen from the past.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And you go back. I mean, there's a couple different chapters in this book. The Trailblazers,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, goes back to the Darley Arabian. I mean, we're talking back to some of these are pretty old horses, a couple thousand years. So, and then you move. Go
Excuse
ahead.
me, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, what's interesting, one of the horses is Copenhagen, who was he was ridden by the Duke of Wellington in the Battle of Waterloo. And so I wrote the book, and then I sent it to him, and I got a note back from his secretary, and she's looking out the window at Copenhagen's grave, and he's remembered there on the 7,000-acre estate in England. So.
Wow. I mean, Hambletonian, who the Hambletonian race is named after, actually. And, there's just so many Eclipse, and this goes, the Gandolfin Arabian. It just goes all the way back. And then you go into movies, music, and timeless tales. There are so many famous movie horses and, tied to big movie stars. How did you pick those?
Well, I don't know. Now, my husband loved Gene Autry, so I said, well, you got to put Champion in. And then Flicka, of course, the Black Stallion. I got to meet that horse who was in the movie. He was from San Antonio Arabians. He was a wonderful stallion named Cassoulet. That's another story. But, it's so funny. If I could suggest to your listeners, if you loved Mr. Ed, there is a YouTube video called Leo DeRocher Meets Mr. Ed, and Mr. Ed's playing baseball, and it is the funniest thing, and TV Guide rated it number 73 out of their 100 best TV episodes. It's so funny. It really is. But, I don't know, just the horses I've read about. I have read all those books when I was a kid, and it's just, I guess I was editor-in-chief, and I got to pick my horses.
The god of horses. I'm deciding who goes
You get to do
book.
whatever you want.
Right. And then
I know it, and it was so fun and all the people who helped me with photographs and interviews is incredible, really.
There's a photograph or a drawing of all 100 horses, right?
Yes, and I wanted to do it that way because I originally started this as a middle grade to young adult book because so many children, I think, are missing out on history lessons, just basic history. And so each horse has a photograph or a drawing, a graphic of some sort, and then the stories are no longer than 2 pages, so it can be picked up and read quickly.
Right.
And that's kind of why that happened.
You couldn't find photos of the 1,000-year-old horses in here?
Oh, no. Well, now, Eohippus is the very first horse in
I
there.
see that.
And he's like 65 million years old.
I don't know where that picture went. Somebody lost it.
No,
He's probably a little dusty,
I
too.
took that picture. He was at the Kentucky Horse Park, and I took a picture of him, all things. There he is.
So once you had all of these horses collected, and you even had some overflow, and you're putting the book together, and you start to see some logical order, the photos are coming together. At what point do you say, okay, I now need to bring this to a publisher, and then you have to make a pitch? What did your pitch look like? What did it sound like?
Well, I put together a book, and a friend of mine I'm from Austin, Texas, and the Austin Writers League had a woman who was kind of a mentor. And so I met with her over lunch, and she said, what you should do, because this is so graphic heavy, she said, put together a sampling of 10 horses or 8 horses and a sampling of your writing. And that's how I did it. And I had an artist friend I worked with at an advertising agency, and he put up like a little mock-up of what the book would look like, might look like. And that was just a huge help because you could see what the horses look like, and there's so many different ones and different from different disciplines, and then that's how it helped me get it published. So I got to tell you, one of the funny stories in the book is from the King Ranch. I'm sure you know the King Ranch down in South Texas. Well, Wimpy P1 is in the Trailblazers chapter. And the way he got his name, I mean, he won a stallion class at the 1941 Fort Worth Fat Stock Show, and the AQHA, American Quarter Horse Association, was just beginning to put together its organization, and so they needed a horse, the very first stallion, and so Wimpy won the stallion class. And the P1 means permanent number one, but the way he got Wimpy was the guys who took care of him down at the King Ranch. He said he had a ravenous appetite, just like the character in the Popeye cartoons, Jay Wellington Wimpy, who ate hamburgers. And this is one of the most famous quarter horses in history, and here he has this unlikely name of Wimpy. But that's how he got that name.
Well, now you're going to tell us about one today. And, I did Old Bob. I did a history segment on Old Bob, and I used your book as a partial reference for that. But
good.
In your War Horses segment, which you have quite a few, because there were quite a few famous war horses, you have one in there that I think everybody will recognize the name of. But tell us about General Lee's horse Traveler from the Civil War.
Okay. Well, General Lee bought Traveler early in the Civil War. And Traveler carried General Lee through the major battles, through Gettysburg, Antietam, the horrible battles at the Wilderness. And it was amazing that the horse was never injured. He was scared a lot of times. But then on Palm Sunday, April 9, 1865, when the war was finally over, the South had lost the battle at Appomattox, Virginia, and he rode a Traveler to sign the surrender papers to General Grant. And it was so interesting because General Lee, he had a little more time than General Grant. General Grant was riding really fast trying to get there, but General Lee put on his best uniform and he cleaned up. He had his assistants clean up Traveler, and he even took a private named Joshua Johns with him to the surrender ceremony so that Traveler wouldn't have to be tied up. And he grazed him, took his bridle off, grazed him. And then on April 12th, after the Civil War basically was over, General Lee was riding Traveler back home to Richmond. And they were riding in this terribly cold, nasty Virginia rain. And a minister happened to see them go through town, and he looked out the window and he commented, Traveler was bespattered with mud and his head hung down as if worn by long traveling. And that was a long, long way. And then, but happy days followed. General Lee was invited to be president of Washington College in Lexington, Virginia. So here they ride west again to 110 miles to Washington College. And it was so sweet. It was just the sweetest love story between a horse and a human. General Lee took the carriage building and had it. It was attached to his house, and he said he was always happy that he and Traveler were sharing the same roof again. And later, while General Lee had to be away from the college, he wrote home, and it was so sweet. He said, "How's Traveler? Tell him I miss him desperately and have repented of our separation but once, and that's the whole time since we parted." So eloquent talking about his horse.
That's the best love story ever.
It really is, and I got to go to Washington and Lee, which is now Washington and Lee University. They leave the door to it's now the president's garage for his cars, and they leave the door open during the day so Traveler's spirit can come in and out at will.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Traveler outlived General Lee by about a year.
Really? I didn't know that.
He died at 14. Mm-hmm.
I didn't also know that he got Traveler at the beginning of the war. I thought he came in the middle, but he got him at the beginning. And it is amazing that horse never got hurt.
Well, there was one story about how they were in a battle, and he happened to rear up at just the right time, and a bullet went under his belly, and that was the closest he came to getting hurt. Yes, it really was amazing how General Lee just loved that horse, and today he is buried just outside the side door of Lee Chapel at Washington andLee, and people still put carrots and apples on his graveside.
Oh my God, I'm like
not
crying.
He's not 25 feet from Lee's body inside the chapel.
You know, we love our horses, but we have to think of what it was like back then. They didn't only love their horses; they relied on their horses. They lived or died by whether their horses took care of them. I mean, it was truly a two-way street back then, because you did everything with your, especially if you were a soldier, you did everything with your horse. And imagine the bond you would develop being in battle together. I mean,
oh, I know it. It's incredible, and the friendship they had after they got to Washington College. They would ride every day out into the mountains, and then when General Lee died, Traveler was decked out in mourning and carried the boots reversed in the stirrups, which symbolizes a fallen warrior who will ride no more. And it is amazing. I think he bought the horse. He kind of finagled for the horse like in 1861, early in the war. But you're right, it was after the war started.
And then the whole story of Blackjack, and I mean, just old Bob, Lincoln's horse. Remember that one that I did, Helena? Is just the incredible stories of horses in this book. It's 100 Horses in History. You must get it. You know what? Christmas is coming. This would make a great Christmas gift for people. It's available on Amazon, but where else is it available too?
Okay, well, it's available at the King Ranch. They have it there. We have it at the National Sporting Museum and Library in Middleburg, Virginia.
We just had them on.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Isn't that a wonderful place?
Yes.
They were just so great. It's at the Smithsonian Institute's Hubbard Museum of the American West in Ruidoso. It's at the Buffalo Bill Dam Visitor Center in Cody, Wyoming. And I'm working with Barnes & Noble to get it in Barnes & Noble. They said they want some, so that's a work in progress, but that's next. And then it's on my website, Gail at 100horsesinhistory.com.
So it's Gail at 100 and Gail at
100horsesinhistory.com.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate you being on. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have you back when you put out the second 100 Horses in History.
Okay, I'll count on that, and thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I enjoyed it a lot. I appreciate it.
It was nice to have you. Well, I just made history myself.
You did? What'd you do?
I did. Well, my 13-year-old daughter is about to enter the land of IEA. And if you're listening and you don't know what IEA is, I'll tell you. It's the Interscholastic Equestrian Association. And it's a club team that works at the middle school and high school level. And her barn, Grace's barn, is a participating team at Nora Harris Equestrian. And guess what my 13-year-old needed for IEA?
Oh, I bet you. Is it like when they first go to school and they send you a list of all the crap you have to buy that costs $400?
Yeah, exactly.
Really? I was just guessing. That's what happened.
I had to outfit the kid from head to toe.
Or they have certain requirements of certain breeches, certain shirt.
Well, here's what's interesting. They make recommendations, and the recommendations are always way more than I can afford.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm not working for a tack company.
Right.
So now I have to pay full retail price. And here's what's interesting. I'm shopping around online. I need a helmet. I need breeches. I need tall, everything from hairnets and gloves. And I'm like, after a half an hour sort of comparing prices and looking for the most ideal things, I'm like, what am I doing? This is like ridiculous. I really just want to do business with a company that's going to get me what I need and have the best prices, period. So I went to Horse Lovers. You guys would think that I pay attention to horselovers.com outside of the show, but I didn't, because I really don't have to buy that much stuff. There's stuff I want to buy, but when I was faced with having to actually outfit my kid and spend some cash, I was like, forget it. I don't want to duct tape and order together. I want to just go to one company. If I have a question about something, I can live chat or email their customer service. It was such a nice experience. I was like, breeches, boom. Tall boot socks, boom. Helmet, boom. Just added it to my cart. It was really good. I had a couple of questions. I used their live chat feature, got some answers, and was able to.
So their live chat wasn't like the one I used for our server company where it says, please wait, you're 55th in line and we'll be with you in an hour.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Their customer service was great. So we got her a bunch of stuff. But I have to say, one of my favorite things about Horse Lovers is, so Tailored Sportsmen's in the hunt seat world are like the breach, right?
Are they still the breach?
Yeah, they're always because you know what, Tailored Sportsmen they keep up their game. They really keep their eye on the ball. So now I have two pair of Ariat Pro Circuit breeches. Ariat doesn't make those anymore. I love them. They were a lot like the Tailored Sportsmen's. The funny thing is Ariat was like, oh, you guys like our Pro Circuits? Well, we're now going to charge $200 for them. So I thought, crap. Now what am I going to do if I ever need a Tailored Sportsman-like breech without paying those prices? Guess who had some?
What'd you end up with?
Ovations.
Oh yeah, they have some good breeches for kids.
Yep, Ovation has a pair, and they're totally accessible, financially accessible, meaning they're affordable. So yeah, thanks, Horse Lovers. You guys rock, like for real.
Well, there you go. I don't need to do a commercial. That was the commercial right there. Somebody who actually used them. Well, we appreciate them, and you can get a coupon code. Use coupon code HRN at checkout, and you'll get $5 off your order next time you head over to horselovers.com, and you'll probably have a good experience like Helena did. That's what we've been finding with all of our listeners have been using them. So give them a shot next time you go to outfit your kid with $500 worth of stuff. For IE, what was it again?
IEA.
IEA.
Up next, our listener interview. Today, we're going to talk with Shane Griffiths. She's currently living in Utah. And let's see, she's a novelist. So I'm really excited about that because I think writers are pretty cool because I'm kind of cool. Not really. I want to be cool, but I'm not.
She's cool.
I think Shane's going to be way more cool than me. So let's welcome Shane to the show.
It is the year of the listener. And now, our Stable Scoop listener of the week.
Welcome, Shane, to the Stable Scoop radio show. I'm particularly excited to talk to you because you are a novelist, and I've always wanted to be a novelist when I grew up. Well, I would just like to write my way out of all kinds of trouble. So I'm really interested to talk to someone who can both write, tell stories, and who loves horses. So welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Are you really a novelist, or do you just say that?
I really am a novelist. Although I think
there's a hell of a first question. Are you lying or not?
Out of trouble. It's a good question to ask a fiction writer. We lie for a living.
Well, there are people who say I'm a writer, and then there are people who say I'm a novelist, and then there are people who really humble and say I tell stories. So. And being a novelist in today's digital world is not what it used to be. So my question to you is, have you always been, or you just, okay, let's back it up for a second. You recently published your first novel called Borrowed Horses. Tell us about that.
Okay. So the novel actually grew out of the fact that I'd ridden horses my whole life, and I didn't actually own my first horse until after graduating college. And I found this old thoroughbred named Killian, who was absolutely the love of my life. And I had him for years and years, and we did all sorts of things together. But when I was in grad school and writing my dissertation, he was no longer able to do the work that we'd always done. He was getting really arthritic, and jumping had long gone, and now riding it all was going, and I was just longing to have horses in my life, and I thought, how can I do this? And I'd always sort of resisted writing about horses because I thought, oh, people just, you know how it is, how sometimes you say, I'm into horses, and people are like, oh, you're one of those girls who never got over that preteen thing, And so I'd always thought, oh no, writing's something else, and writing is this thing that I do because I love it. And then I read a book called Bel Canto by Ann Patchett, and it's all about opera. And I never thought I would be into opera. And she made me love it and feel passionate about it, at least while I was reading the book. And I thought, if she can do that for opera, then I need to try and do that for horses and see if I can make people feel that love and that passion that I feel for horses, even if it's not their thing, even if they don't think they're into it. And so I started the book from there, and from this like desire to ride and not being able to ride, and just poured all of that into the book.
Wow, so you're like a missionary of sorts.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, you do want to turn non-horse people into horse people, don't you?
That's right. Or at least to get them to understand why we go so nuts and spend so much money and spend whole days at the barn getting as dirty as possible. And that's just the best thing.
Well, part of not having a horse at the moment is, or part of the good part about that is you do get to engage with horses in a different way. Sometimes when we take a step back from what we do with them every day, we begin to appreciate some other facets of them that we hadn't otherwise appreciated. It's not that we wouldn't, but we're just so focused on riding and grooming and caring for that we forget that there are conversations like the ones we have here on Stable Scoop, and that there are novels and all these other parts of the horse world that are just as lovable. Mm-hmm. So how did you get the horse bug? Were you born with it, or did someone pass it on to you?
I really do think I was born with it. My cousin is a dressage rider. He has a training program out in Pennsylvania. He breeds and competes dressage horses, and he has a Grand Prix horse right now who was just a little baby foal when I was out visiting one time, and he was trying to decide what to name him, and I was talking about Killian, and he said to me, "Would you mind if I named my horse Killian? Because I really like that name." And so, I think about that all the time. Anyways, so that doesn't answer your question. But my
okay.
cousin was my cousin's a rider. My aunt was the first person to ever put me on a horse. My great-grandfather was the last man to drive a horse-driven fire truck in Philadelphia. I had a grandfather who was a fruit huckster and drove horses for that, or I should say great-grandfather. So horses are very much in the blood, and when I was little and people would say, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I would say, "I want to be a jockey," and then they'd laugh because they're like, "You're already too tall to be a jockey." But I wanted horses as part of my life right from the start.
So what if you don't have a horse right now? And so are you not able to ride? Are you not in a place where you're able to ride right now?
I'm really lucky that I've always had friends who, know that I just love horses and who let me ride their horses. So right now I have a colleague at the university where I work. Her name is Stacy Palin, and she's got a little farm out here and does a lot of dressage horses. And she's got a horse named Roger, who's an Irish sport horse, and I get to get out and ride him from time to time. So that's been a bunch of fun.
Hey,
awesome.
in your past, I see here you worked for the USET, the United States Equestrian Team. What'd you do for them?
I worked in development. So I wrote letters basically asking people to donate money so that we could help raise funds to send the team to the Sydney Olympics.
Oh, cool. Did you get to go too?
I didn't. I got to watch everybody else in the
building
go, but
you needed to write one more letter. You needed one more donation, and you could have went.
That's right. That's right.
That was probably kind of cool, though.
It was, and I in that job, I got to meet a lot of professionals in the horse industry that I had just always admired. And to talk to them, to see like the Young Riders program. I got to see a training lesson with them. Fantastic. Just great experience.
Well, now I have to ask the mandatory question. Are you married?
I am.
And is he a horse guy?
He is not a horse guy.
Does
That
he?
is,
Does he
he's
have a
fruit
hobby?
guy.
Does he a golfer? Or?
He does golf.
Yeah.
He does golf. He also cooks and he brews beer. So
Well, that's not so
a
bad.
lot of other redeeming features
Yeah.
to make up for the lack of horsiness.
That makes up for it.
If they're not going to be into horses, they cook and brew beer. That's good. I mean, that'll do.
That's right. That's right. So if I fall off and owe the whole barn beer, I've got a good source.
I picture your whole basement like with barrels, you know.
Substitute bottles for barrels and you've got it.
A bootlegger. There aren't too many of those in Utah either. You're probably one of very few.
No, we're in the minority.
That's right.
Have you always lived in the West, in Utah, or is that
I've
sort of
moved around a lot, to be honest. I've moved all over the country. Born in Ohio, grew up in Riverside, California, graduated high school in Moscow, Idaho, and that's where I went to college. That's where I set my novel, and then worked when I was with the USET, that was in New Jersey, went to grad school in Georgia. Now I'm in Utah. So, yeah, a little bit of everywhere.
Holy cow.
That's why she has no accent whatsoever.
What do you...
I've got a total mismatch of an accent. It's a little bit of everything, I think.
Are you comfortable in Utah, or is there someplace else in the U.S. that you really feel is more like home to you?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, Utah, I really do love Utah, but the whole Pacific Northwest. We've got family in my husband's family's in Oregon. My sister lives in Seattle. She's a filmmaker, and you know, just having gone to high school in northern Idaho, all of that sort of upper northwest corner of the country really feels like home.
Well,
your sister's a filmmaker. Maybe she can make your book into a film.
I think she gets that suggestion from family members quite often. But she's doing really well with her own work. She had a film in the Sundance Festival, and she had a film at South by Southwest in Toronto. So she's doing great.
Does she do documentaries? What's she do?
Well, she had a feature film called Lucky Them that I think has been making the rounds on Showtime and things like that lately. That had Toni Collette and Thomas Hayden Church in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Oliver Platt. It's a fantastic film. Previous one to that was a film called Eden that was based on some real life stories about a sex trafficking ring that was discovered in California. So Lucky Them's more like a fun romantic comedy rock and roll story. Eden's a lot darker, but yeah, she's got quite a few films that she's been working on. And I think right now her latest film is about the Night Stalker, and I believe it's on Lifetime. So tune in.
She does have a variety there, doesn't she?
You're
really
a creative bunch.
Yeah.
Does creativity run in your family? In addition to horse, maybe it's a horse thing.
It may be. Well, she's not a horse person either. Although she did ride back in the day. But our father is a chemistry professor, and our mother was a social worker. And so I don't know how you get a writer and a filmmaker out of that. But
right. Okay.
Sometimes
some sort of alchemy happened.
Yeah, sometimes it goes back a couple generations. You know what? I gotta tell you, this is a good time to promote this. You're in Utah. If you want to catch a little commuter plane, we're going to be doing a listener meetup at the Colorado Horse Park. It's actually their big 3-day event out there, and it's cross country day, Saturday, September the 17th, and it's also their big fair. They have a fair going on at the same time. I was talking to them yesterday, and we're going to do a meetup there, and they have all kinds of cool things happening that day, including we can walk around and see cross country. So if you're in the area, if you're in Colorado, or you want to hop a commuter plane from Utah, head on over. Jennifer and I will be there. A couple of our other hosts will be there as well that live in that area. So we hope to see some of our listeners there too, if you get a chance to hop on over. So how'd you find out about Horse Radio Network?
Well, you know, it's funny. I hadn't even thought about looking for horse podcasts before. I'd listened to all sorts of other ones on writing or on science or different things like that. And I don't know why I didn't think about looking for a horse one sooner. And I stumbled across a dog podcast called Can I Pet Your Dog? And as soon as I thought about that, I was like, there's got to be a horse one. And so I searched horses on iTunes, and up popped the Horse Radio Network. And suddenly I was subscribed to all sorts of great shows.
Suddenly, I was wasting my time listening
with
to Glenn and
people.
Helena.
I'm never going to catch up with all the podcasts.
No, you
I'm
got
working on it.
4,900 to catch up on, by the way. Yeah, so it's like, well,
It's great
it is.
for when I need to vacuum the house or clean bathrooms. It makes it enjoyable.
See, I didn't put. I always tell our prospective sponsors that people listen while they're cleaning stalls. I didn't put cleaning bathrooms in there. I need to say bathrooms and stalls now.
Yep.
Yep. All the romantic jobs is when they listen to us. So, all right, you ready for rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right, rapid fire, which Helena has a hard time keeping rapid
Yeah.
because
We have
all
time
right.
for about 5, Helena.
All right, I'm going to try. I'm not being rude, Shane. It's just I have to be quick. Okay,
Okay.
that's my disclaimer. What is your favorite food?
I've struggled with this one. It's either my husband's lasagna, which is really great, has goat cheese in it and all this stuff, or it's his baked chicken with bacon roasted potatoes.
Oh my
sounds good,
God.
both of them. Just send them both over.
Fantastic.
All right, now
He's
I want
also the
lasagna.
only cook who's ever made me love green beans.
Ooh,
So
we'll have to
he's-
chat
he's
about
the
that
magician.
afterwards. That's
Yeah.
right. What's your least favorite food then?
Cotton candy, hands down.
Well, that's a
and
first.
Anything in that family, marshmallows, meringue, too sweet.
Interesting.
No
Cotton
s'mores
candy,
for
huh?
her.
I would say cotton candy because you
Yeah,
just
you can
it
have mine.
dissolves.
I will happily share.
Super sweet. Okay, what's your biggest equestrian or equine pet peeve?
People who put themselves in front of their horses. So, what I love about barns is that they're a place where you hang out with people who get the whole horse obsession. When I was at one barn where there was a group of girls with these $15,000 imported warm blood horses, and they would stand in the tack room and talk about their latest shoes while their horses were out in the cross ties,
Yeah.
being ignored. And I just that really got under my skin. So always horses first, and then once they're happy and put away, then chilling and talking in the barn. That's the best.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite professional or celebrity equestrian?
Frank Burns for professional, and also Tom Ordway, who was my trainer in Idaho and is fantastic. And then for the Olympic caliber ones, I'm going to go with Ann Krasinski. She's amazing.
Excellent. I like that. I love that you chose one of your trainers because it's important, I think, for people to be inspired by the folks the real life folks that we work so closely with. See, that kind of thing makes my heart swell up. They change us. They sort of help shape the horsemen and women that we become.
Oh, really? Absolutely. And the training that I got from him, it permeates my whole life. One of the things I think you learn from horses is to be patient and listening, and how to be strong without being cruel. And so much of that I got from my trainers, including Tom. Yeah.
I say this a lot on Stable Scoop, and so if I repeat myself, well, you're all just going to have to deal. But one of the best pieces of riding advice that I've ever gotten that has turned into life advice. I've had two key pieces of advice, both from the same person, Coach Jen, over at Horse Tip Daily. One of the things she told me was, remember to ride the horse you're on. And it has overflowed into the rest of my life and has literally helped me to become a more flexible, adaptable, less self-centered person. Period. Mm-hmm. So something as small as, a little phrase in the saddle can really change who you are as a person. I think that our trainers and our coaches deserve a lot of gratitude.
Absolutely.
So it's nice for you to say that. Okay. See, I told you rapid fire. It always turns into some philosophical discussion. Glenn's over there like, come on, Alina.
No, I'm just listening.
All right. What career other than one with horses or riding would you might like to try?
This one's really tough. yeah, because I still want to say barn manager, but if horses are off the table, I don't know, maybe something with dogs, a dog trainer, or I'm clearly not very good about thinking about money-making careers.
Yeah, we aren't either.
Yeah. That's okay. Welcome to the
We're all in
family.
that boat. We own horses.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I do think that's all the time we're going to have. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being an auditor, too. We really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And for hanging out with all of us in the auditor room and just being part of that family. Well, now it's time for our horselovers.com product review on the Tack and Habit segment. And we have Auditor Hillary Borneman here with us, and she is reviewing the Noble Outfitters Balance Riding Tight. We've had a lot of reviews of breeches here lately. So, well, first of all, hello, Hillary. Welcome back.
Hi, thanks.
Now, you were on with us back in episode 409 in June as our listener of the week. So if you've missed that one, everybody, you can head back and take a listen to Hillary there. But today she's here with a noble purpose. Ha, get it? Bad
Yeah,
pun,
ha,
Noble
ha.
Outfitters, noble purpose.
It is a noble purpose. though.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
right.
like-
Bad pun, though. Okay, so Hillary, enough of the bad puns. Tell us about the Noble Outfitters Balance Riding Tights.
Okay, well, in the Northeast, we have had a really, really brutal summer with the heat and the humidity. So these couldn't have come at a better time. They really are a nice, lightweight riding tight. However, there's other brands of riding tights that are really, really thin and they show everything.
Ugh.
These don't. These are
Yeah.
awesome. They hold you together just enough. They have a great amount of stretch, but they're still lightweight. So there's a little more substance to the fabric, but they're still nice and cool and comfortable.
They have...
So-
I like that you say that they don't show everything because thinner might be lighter, but it's not necessarily more comfortable.
Yeah, these are the kind of tights that you could wear to Target after your barn as far as, running your errands. The other ones you would save for Walmart, but you can go a step up with these.
You can do Target with these. That's funny. And apparently it has the moisture wicking up to dry technology, which is supposed to keep you cool. And you said apparently that part works.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like I said, I was quite grateful. The last time I rode in them, and I've ridden in them a few times, but it was 90 degrees, 64% humidity. And I wore them for an hour lesson and was just so grateful to not be in a heavy cotton breech.
Now,
Very nice.
are they were the ones you had knee patch?
Yes, they're knee patch. I haven't seen any of these in full seat just
Okay.
yet, but the ones that I got are navy blue, and they have a really cute contrasting knee patch in gray. So they look really, really sharp. They're also, well, I had a very tough time getting anything to stick to them. The stain resistance was really, really good. Poultice came right off, hoof polish, no problem.
Oh, nice.
So-
Were
it
you
was
like
very easy to
slathering
keep
it
them
on
clean.
to test them? Did you just like take and rub yourself in the manure pit to see if it cleaned?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
You
Just
don't
checking.
really have to do that, but when you do a jump school on a really hot day, you
Yes.
take a little extra care of your horse, you're going to
That's
get
true.
goop all over you.
That's
And
true.
it washed right off.
Wow, that's good. And now, does it have a pocket for a phone?
Yeah, there's a great pocket on the left-hand thigh. It has a nice cover, a top to it. So nothing is going to get in there and shift around too much. I have some other breeches that have the pocket on the thigh, but if you're moving around a whole lot, the phone will work its way out.
Yes,
It
that
won't
happens
happen
to
that way,
me.
so.
That happens to me all the time. My poor phones, I go through them because I think they're secure in a pocket, my breeches. And as soon as I start posting, I could feel it wiggling its way up.
Yeah, this has a top to it, so you have an extra chance to catch it.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, cool. And now these are the Euro seat design too, which I think everybody knows what that is by now. How about are these low rise? Are they medium? What are they?
These are mid-rise. You
Okay.
can pick a hoof. They're awesome.
So you're not
You
doing
can
any
bend
plumber's
over.
butt.
No, not at all. And
Okay.
it's a comfortable waistband too. It doesn't roll, and you have belt loops. So if you want to wear your big thick belt, you totally can. But they are still a pull-on.
And they come in large, they come in extra small to large women's sizes in black and elmwood. I don't know what, elmwood's a tan. I don't know why they didn't call them tan, but it's they call it elmwood. And they're $79.95 at horselovers.com. You can go check them out. Just search for Noble Outfitters Balance Riding Tights. And apparently they come Hillary approved.
Oh, very much so. Love them.
Well, if you too want to become an auditor like Shane and like Hillary, you can go over to stablescoop.com and click on the auditor banner in the middle of the page. For as little as $1 a month, you too can become an auditor. Look, did you see the products I gave out last week for review? Oh, my God. There must have been $2,500 worth of stuff there. It was there. We gave out, 2 pairs of tall riding boots that those 2 pairs totaled over $600. And people, they get to keep them. So they do the review and they get to keep them. And that's all from being an auditor. So many benefits. Plus, they have their own Facebook group, which is the most popular, most active Facebook group I've ever seen.
It really is.
They have a weight loss group within the auditor group now, and they're all motivating each other to lose weight and exercise, and they really are.
They have?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see this.
Oh yeah, they have their own their own Facebook group within the Facebook group on losing weight. You have to scroll down through the posts, and you can become part of that too if they let you in.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to ask permission. You know what I found interesting is they added me without asking, which I think is a hint. Don't you? Isn't that kind of a subtle hint that, Glenn, you're fat and you need to get out and do something? I think that's what they were trying to tell me, actually. And I know I am. I can need more exercise. So now they're motivating me. They're all like walking and posting their Fitbit results and getting each other motivated to lose weight. And I'm like, God, now I feel like a lump. So I need to do that too. And all of that can happen if you just head over and become an auditor. As I said, a lot of people just give what you feel the programming is worth. And that can be as little as $1 a month. And we have people giving $25 a month, anything in between. I did find out, too, that we talked to Helena about the making of the movie The Messengers, which you're going to hear a little bit more about in the next month here on Stable Scoop and some of the other shows. It's a major film documentary about podcasting, and they're now wrapping up. They just did a road trip to see my friend Dave Jackson of the School of Podcasting, and they're wrapping up. I think they have one more place to visit, and then they're going to be doing final edits. It will be premiering, and listeners are invited to this. So if you're in the Florida area in February at Podfest in February in Orlando at the end of the month, they're having a premiere with red carpet and the whole thing. So if you're in the area, we'd love to have you come support the Horse Radio Network. We're in the movie. I'm going to have to buy a new cowboy hat, maybe with some bling on it.
Woo!
And
I like that.
dress up and wear a tie and everything. So, so it should be a lot of fun. And the Podfest is at a really nice resort this year in Orlando. So we hope that we see some of our listeners there, too, if you're in the area.
And I'm going to be there.
Yeah, you better come down for that. It was so much fun having you down last year for Podfest. Really
Yeah.
was.
Well, I don't know if should I be down there for Horse Radio Network this year or that Newport show this year?
Both.
I'm podding
You
all
can
over
be
the
there
place.
for more than one thing. You can be there for everything. But yeah, it'd be fun to have you again.
Is Jen coming?
Oh yeah, she'll be there because
Because I'm not coming unless Jen.
No, Jen will be there for Podfest this year. She volunteers and helps out at check-in and stuff, and they love her there. So
What's the date?
she'll be happening. And if anybody wants to see information, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast, go to podfest.us, and you'll see the dates. And it is at a really posh, exclusive resort in Orlando. It's about 5 minutes from Disney, so a lot of people are bringing their families and then staying a couple extra days and going to Disney. And actually, I was going to talk to you about doing that. I thought it'd be cool because there's a whole bunch of new stuff at Animal Kingdom. So it'd be fun. It runs through Saturday if you stayed on Sunday and we all went to Animal Kingdom together. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they have nighttime in Animal Kingdom now, too, which we haven't seen yet. So maybe
I
want
want to swim in that big pool.
Yeah, this is a nice place, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
A little
I'm
different
swimming
than
in the
last
pool.
year's.
I'm going to jump off those rocks.
Let's just say Podfest had humble beginnings in a little hotel in Tampa. But this is a completely opposite of that.
I'm looking at the pictures, too, of everybody. It's such a great group of people.
It is, and there are going to be a lot more there this year, too. Hopefully we'll attract it. And I'm apparently doing another keynote this year. Nice. I like doing the teaching parts during the day where you can get nitty gritty, because that's what I really like.
Yeah.
The keynotes make me nervous. I don't think I'm very good at them, but I don't know. They keep asking me back, so I guess I must be doing okay. Maybe I'll convince them to have you do the keynote.
I can do the keynote because I'm so successful at podcasting. I can't even get a sponsor.
But keynotes are too stressful. I'm too old for that. It's just I have to think about it.
You know what? You've had a whole year under your belt, so you can talk about what's happened in the last year, because there's always something to learn, even for, veterans like you.
And coming up, too, we should mention that we just got done with Ada, so we are preparing for the next Radiothon coming up. So that should be a lot of fun, too, and hopefully, and we have a lot of sponsors interested in that, so I think it's going to be another good event. Well, that's it for this show, Helena. I think that's about all. Where can people find your show?
They can find my show at thatnewportshow.com, or you can just search on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play for Newport, Rhode Island.
That's it. I'm done.
Whew. Yeah, I'm toast. Thanks, everybody, for following along. We'll be back next week. Until then, happy scooping.